Hey, Sebastian, were you able to start this without me? Hey, Sebastian, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. Sebastian, are you on mute? Sebastian, can you say something?
Seb, your mic is not working properly.
I can't hear you yet.
Yep.
Christian, can you hear me?
Yep. I can.
All right. Just waiting to see if Sebastian can unmute himself.
Good morning.
Morning.
So, hey, Sebastian, a quick question. I wasn't sure if I had to log in to enable everyone else to get on. Were you on before me?
Yes, I was. Yeah.
Okay, then it looks like
Yeah.
you have the magic touch because I wasn't able to be on this call, but I at least wanted to make sure it got started okay.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
And I just saw that the recording started as well because I got the request from a few colleagues, for instance, Stacy, that she will not be able to connect today and she would like to just listen to the recording. So I see that it's recording, so perfect.
Okay. And before I drop off, hey Rob, if I could be so rude, I need your headshot because we're about to start marketing the webinar that's coming up on November 15th.
Yeah, I'll get that sorted.
So
I
created a bio for you
Dallas
just
and
based
came back
on
with
what you had. I created a bio based on what you had on LinkedIn, but if you want to send me a better one than that, please do so. Thanks.
No problems at all. All right. Sorry for the delay there, Bill.
Okay.
Yeah, LinkedIn pictures are from time to time a bit outdated, right? I mean, depends. What about yours, Rob?
I think I had a lot nicer hair color in my last one.
Oh, I probably lost a few hair from my last one as well. It's okay. Great. So let's wait for another few minutes. I got actually a few emails. From colleagues that are usually connecting and telling that they were not able to connect today. So let's see if we are a bit more, or if it's just the 5 of us. Otherwise, I suggest we start already for the first topic. And I guess the first topic, for me, I had prepared 3 topics for today. First one is coming back quickly on the last week BSMA Europe conference event. Second topic was more about planning, or just providing an update on the upcoming webinar that is scheduled mid-November. And then the third one was speaking about the next few webinars, seeing if there are any kind of candidates. I guess we may have another, I would say, web-based webinar scheduled in January or February. Then the next one will be happening during the annual conference event in Foster City in March next year. And if I'm right, Rob, you are part of it, right? Oh, yeah. So these are topics, and of course, always opening for questions and from all colleagues being connected today. If there are any questions or topics that you would like also to see being addressed for the next monthly meetings, always great. And definitely, here it will be a bit special meeting today since we are just 5 people. It's usually a bit more crowded, but it's okay. I guess probably vacation time in a lot of places in the world, right? And so let me start maybe with feedback from last week, BSMA Europe conference. I guess Antoine was there. I've been discussing with you. So as you know, BSMA right now, they have 3 conferences per year. The big one, the annual event in Foster City in California every March typically. And then we have the European one. I guess it was the edition number 8 in Europe, happening in Brussels, typically in October. And then we have another third one, kind of more recent one, which is happening in Africa, in Kigali. And I guess that's probably something that will happen in, I don't know, 3 months or 4 months from now on. So last week it was this Brussels event. There was, one day focusing a bit more on commercial supply chain. On a Thursday and on Friday, and maybe I can share my screen. On Friday it was, actually, Bill, if you're still there, I cannot share my screen. So if you can give me the rights, it's not absolutely mandatory step, but it may be easier just to share the program. But program is available on the internet. But basically, the first day, as I was mentioning, was focusing on the commercial supply chain needs. So a lot of topics also focusing on AI, how to leverage the data, planning systems, and making sure you can have also all those database and different vendors or sponsors being able to leverage the same kind of database. That's a lot of this was discussed in a lot of different discussions, and I guess that's also where we can learn a lot from a commercial supply chain that's maybe a bit more, I would say, advanced in terms of data management, in terms of leveraging AI techniques, technologies. Definitely when we come back to planning systems and so on from time to time, there are a bit more I would say interconnected systems there, where you can have a bit more this kind of idea of having this control tower of visibility globally, where we can probably learn also from our clinical supply chain activities. So this was on the first day. Second day, it was a morning session focusing on clinical supply chain needs, and there were a few very interesting discussions coming back to our today kind of clinical planning work stream discussion. So we had Antoine here, that was also speaking in a talk more putting on those kind of similarities between clinical and commercial supply chain plannings, and explaining a bit how we can, as I was mentioning, leverage what is done in the commercial supply chain, but also what are the specificities about the clinical supply chain planning. So I don't know, Antoine, if you want to say a few words about that. About your talk.
So indeed, the morning of the second day was focused on clinical supply. It was good. And we had a talk, I had a call with one of my colleagues on the differences between clinical supply chain planning systems and commercial supply chain planning systems. What are the main differentiator between the two, and what are the requirements to get a good forecast, to get a good clinical supply forecast. So my personal experience lays more on the clinical supply part. So obviously that's what we presented, and I think the feedback was pretty positive from the different vendors and sponsors present in the room.
And I was in the audience in the room, let's say, and there were probably about 100 people, so I guess it was a good audience. It was the first time as well that in BSMA Europe, I mean, this was, there was this kind of specific clinical supply chain morning session. So it was a bit new and they were not sure about their expectation. And yeah, I guess the audience was about 100 people. I guess what was positive in your talk, Antoine, I gave you already the feedback last week, but was also explicitly highlighted by some kind of business cases. I guess that's definitely something that has been well received by the audience as well. And by the way, Antoine and inside, you have won the award on the gala dinner, the award about having the best clinical supply chain technology. So I guess that's also something that I wanted to note today. And this was the main award being given to a clinical supply vendor last week. What else? So I guess there was another interesting panel discussion where I was also taking part of. I guess, Bill, we were missing you because Bill was supposed also to be part of the panel discussion, more speaking about clinical supply chain industry challenges. And we were speaking about how to leverage database analytics, AI, and so on. The link between IRT, RTSMs, and other solutions like supply chain planning systems. And we know that those systems in an ideal world may interconnect in a stream, in a seamless way, in a straightforward way. It's not always the case, and different panelists were also bringing some kind of ideas and business cases as well about success stories and how the future may be more and more towards, I mean, at some point of time, more standardization of the, for instance, coming back to the IRT, the RTSM needs more standardization in what clinical team may be willing to do when they do design or set up the IRT or RTSM, and trying to, by doing that, having a database that is a bit more standard from one RTSM related to one trial versus the next one. And I guess, I mean, that's something that, coming back to our today's discussion about clinical supply planning and forecasting, that's definitely something that may be leveraged on the end-to-end, I would say, supply chain, speaking about demand forecast, speaking about real-time monitoring systems and control towers and everything related more to the upstream part of the manufacturing supply chain. That's definitely something that today, I mean, a lot of companies are struggling. Also coming back on those kind of, definitions that may be lacking, of standardization that may be lacking in different IRT or RTSM systems. Typically, one example that was given was, it's not always easy to understand what means those. Those may have different definitions, or a visit may have different definitions from one clinical trial to another. And I guess that's also something that from time to time, we, from a supply chain background and system or data standpoint, we may want to slightly convey this kind of feedback also towards our cleanups colleagues when they do set up the IRT, trying to make sure they're not too much creative and playing with the definitions on the concepts, so that later on, I mean, that's something that may be more easily pulled by other systems. I'm sure, Rob, that's something also that you may have been speaking about in your career, because that's, I guess, a big topic, right?
Yeah, I was going to say, it's one of those, where do you start? No, it depends on how you actually want to approach it, Sebastian. I agree. I'm trying to get my train of thought here. It depends on the, like, I've actually got some feedback from the last meeting that you guys had, and people are just saying, like, it was fantastic to hear, like, kind of not that it was a certain, like, company preaching. And that's what was that was the big kind of takeaway that I got from a lot of people, that they were saying it was a great, like, the last BSMA conference that we had, that the whole work stream is that what we want to be showing at is that this is an organization and a thought leadership group, rather than like Enside turning up or Signant turning up or Almac turning up saying, oh, here's what we think you should do in clinical supply planning. And it always seems to be very much related to, isn't it a coincidence that our company also provides this? Like, it's yeah, I think everyone wants to move away from that. And I think if we try to make sure that we can align it still to that ethos, that seemed to hit home.
Yeah, completely.
And that's where I guess not that it becomes difficult, but to make sure that we either have sessions, webinars, speakers that have the right, I guess, mindset that they're not there to promote their company. And if we think that there's a certain area where there could be a potential conflict of interest, like if you want to sit up there and talk about like, oh, what's the fantastic software that you should maybe use for clinical supply oversight and planning and forecasting, it's a bit rich. Someone from me, from Signet or Almac turning up and going, oh, here's what I think the industry should do. There's going to be the inherent subconscious kind of like trying to steer business. So whether it's that way, it should be maybe coming from a clinical supply director on the sponsor side of it to say, what do I want to see in a software? And I think that's what has to be our kind of like, whatever it is we want to do, that's the core, I guess, mindset of, it's not product placement.
Right.
This is a thought leadership group. Yeah.
Absolutely. And you're right. And I guess, I mean, that's definitely where also this panel discussion led, making sure that, I mean, the sponsors on the sponsor side, I mean, people are aware that from a technological standpoint, I mean, so systems are there available to be configurable so that, I mean, you can set up your different RT systems or IRT systems for different trials in a standard way, leveraging also a lot of features that are good and efficient for both data management in terms of cleanups as well and for the sites themselves, but without too much being creative. That will prevent basically in terms of data management later on. I mean, all people from supply chain and IRT, RTSM being able to compare different trials and aggregate them, I mean, in any kind of control tower visibility kind of situation or planning systems.
And that's why, like, it's exactly the same. Like if I set up there with like, I can imagine like a panel discussion between myself, someone from Almac, someone from Enside, and it's like we're all just going to be going, well, here's the important thing that we do, and like, oh, I disagree with you on that. Everyone's just going to be wanting to make sure that they kind of put their, like, it's their view, but it's the view of the company as well. So I really want to make sure that even if we all know that we're not going to do that, it's the perception that the audience will take away. And that's why, like, I always laugh when I see these, like, kind of, oh, here's 4G talking about, like, oh, what you should be thinking about for innovation. I'm like, well, of course. Kind of like, it's like, you're going to be telling us exactly what, coincidentally, your product can do. So it's, I think everyone's kind of seen and done that. And then I think now what I'm starting to see is that, these panels where it's the sponsor talking to someone agnostic and maybe a bit of, like, kind of cross, I guess, I don't want to say cross-questioning, but a matter of like, if you're talking about forecasting and demand, have someone from IRT who's maybe their company doesn't do this and say, well, why do you think that this should be something that comes from the IRT? Like, throw the question out rather than making it like preaching a little bit. And that's where, like, I think, like, I don't know for the rest of you guys that are on the call, like, I've from traveling all this year and seeing all the different kind of like webinars that you log into and face-to-face things, I found the ones where I'm not kind of feel like I'm being sold something or convinced seems to hit home a little bit more rather than like, I want it to be more of a learning experience.
Absolutely. And also offering, I mean, as I was mentioning, when you're aware that the technology is there, it's more bringing back to the sponsor side. I mean, this idea about maybe supply chain as, I mean, the departments in the sponsor side, I mean, should have a straightforward discussion with their cleanups team before they start setting up the RTSM, so that they do understand that there is a broader picture later on, that maybe what you will benefit on one side, cleanup side, I mean, you will kind of lose, I mean, maybe more globally later on, I mean, in order to monitor your patients, make sure the supplies are there on time and so on. So that's a broader discussion, but I guess that's also the opportunity in those kind of groups, I mean, working groups that you were mentioning, Rob, to just provide a more kind of broader situation and do not speak too much about one system, but more about an ideal situation and bring back some kind of opportunities to all sponsors about initiating this discussion with cleanups colleagues. So it was good. So another 2 sessions last week about also clinical supply planning, What else did we speak about? There were two discussions focusing on cell and gene therapies and how the clinical supply chain should adapt to ATMP, with some kind of case studies also about, looking at the value chain, the different challenges and so on. Someone from Kite Pharma that was speaking, and the last one was also focusing on the industrialization, moving out from clinical developments more towards commercialization of those kind of cell and gene therapies, and how the supply chain had to adapt in a kind of scalable way. So it was quite interesting as well. So this was for last week BSMA conference. If you want to hear a bit more about some of those sessions, maybe we can catch up later on. So this was for the first topic for today. The second topic, as I was mentioning, and I guess I will give you the floor, Rob, is related to the upcoming webinar. So I guess it's scheduled on November the 15th, if I'm right, and the topic is on packaging strategies, everything that may address or be related to just-in-time manufacturing, pooling, and so on, and definitely provide, the floor to both small sponsor side, larger sponsor size, and CDMOs. And I guess it will be led by Tony Stolis, that apologize, but will not be able, to be there today with us. And we'll have also Darrell Sierra from Almac, Diane Schilling, Hilary Ross from Almac, and you, Rob, from Signant, right? So any feedback on the preparation of this webinar, Rob?
I haven't been there for the last couple of sessions there, Sebastian, purely because, I said I came back. I was in Dallas for a week, and then I came back with COVID for 2 weeks.
Oh.
So I've had a fantastic 3 weeks. So I'm trying to catch up with Tony and with Hillary to try and see where we're at with things. But it seems though, from all, I don't know all the ins and outs of the discussions, but from what I'm seeing from the emails, it's progressing as expected. Yeah.
Great. And usually, there are also some kind of BSMA LinkedIn posts that Bill is triggering. 1 to 2.
And that's what Bill was. Yeah, that's what Bill was asking me about earlier, for just to get the kind of my bio and headshot across to him to get that sorted. Yeah. So
I'm definitely encouraging everyone, to share and spread, those kind of webinars, promotion. Everyone is doing it, leveraging their free time, to share their knowledge and experience. And I guess that's definitely something that we need to keep promoting and towards our different networks and so as well. So. So this is for, the I would say virtual webinar in mid-November, and then, as I was mentioning, what has been also scheduled is another webinar that will be let's say happening live during the Foster City conference, so in California, in March 2024. So the idea was to speak about the upstream supply chain, so everything related to drug substance manufacturing, the production of drug product lots, and how to allocate those drug substance to the drug product lots. And I guess, we have already, 4 people or 3 people that have been speaking or showing the interest. So I guess it will be led by Stacey Erickson. And then we'll have Ryan Mills and Brittany Elko that will represent more, the smaller side of the sponsor side. We are still looking for another 1 or 2, resources. So if you believe that you may be interested, I'm speaking definitely for you, Christine, Carlos, Antoine. Just let me know. What would be great is being there in California during those kind of this kind of annual events in Foster City, March 2024. But if you're interested, feel free to reach out to me. I will just share, the minutes of this meeting today to the group, and of course, yeah. If you are passionate about this topic. And what else? So I guess, the last topic I wanted to bring before, opening the floor to questions is more about for the next webinars. We are speaking about having another virtual webinar, in probably January or February. We have been speaking in the past monthly calls on the kind of different ideas. Definitely, we may have a focus on waste. This was a topic that was suggested, how to measure and manage waste in an efficient way. We have another one that was more related to everything related to CDMO management. Then one idea that has been suggested was also to focus on expiry management strategies, how to make sure we can, plan forward and anticipate any kind of expiry management. And I guess that's probably connected to a lot of, the systems that you may have in place about IRT or RTSM's strategies, and then more in the forecasting systems or the planning systems, how to make sure as well, coming back more to this kind of upstream part of the supply chain, that's really making sense. And again, I mean, we were thinking about having different sponsors from larger size where maybe those expiry management strategies were also shared in terms of responsibilities between different departments, versus more smaller sponsor side where this is maybe some kind of responsibility that is given to one single person managing some kind of end-to-end supply chain. So that's one of the ideas. Yeah, more about another one, coming back more to business processes. We've been speaking about maybe it would be great to speak about some kind of planning guidance. I mean, and share experience and expertise on how to rerun, I mean, forecasting and planning systems, and the frequency of those kind of reruns, and everything related to those kind of strategies. So just opening, I mean, sharing those kind of ideas. If you feel passionate about any of those topics, and you would like to spend a few hours on that, just in terms of expectation management. I mean, typically it's requesting 2 preparation session of about 1 hour, so it's probably 2, maximum 3 hours preparation time, and then 1 hour, I mean, for the webinar, and that will happen in either January or February. So just let me know again. So that's all on my side. I don't know if you have, guys, I mean, any topic that you want to discuss today, or that you want to see it and being addressed in the upcoming either webinars or monthly calls for this clinical supply planning work stream.
So Sebastian, I think I suggested this a lot, and I know we added it to the list, and I'm not sure where we would necessarily discuss it, but I think somewhere along the lines we should probably discuss how people do close out of the studies, the returns and reconciliation of that. I think it's important, and I think it's close to our hearts. Like we know from a clinical supply standpoint the importance of it, but I can tell you the education is not out there for other groups, right?
Yep,
So
yep.
It'd be interesting to hear across the board what other people are doing, especially with more complex studies. Maybe we're doing just-in-time labeling, or it's pooled supplies. How are people managing that? So I think that would be a really great topic to cover, whether it's in a webinar, or maybe even when in the face-to-face meeting in March next year. But I think it should be something we should discuss at some point.
No, that's great. So when you speak about close out of the studies, I mean, you also mentioned, I guess, I mean, all the lessons learned and so on. I mean, how to make sure you can learn from the past, right? Yeah.
Exactly. Yep. And what people are doing today, how are they making sure to educate the other teams to explain the importance of it? Who manages the overall reconciliation of the entire study, not just necessarily what we shipped out and what's returned. It's the middle part too that is important.
Would you be interested to be part of any kind of a webinar?
I had a feeling that was coming.
I mean, it's okay. I mean, to say no. It's okay to just say maybe yes, but not in January or February. Maybe, I mean, then the next one will probably be in May or May 2024.
Yeah, I'm happy to help with that. I can certainly give my experience or my thoughts, and whether it's the beginning of next year or maybe the one in May or June, it doesn't matter to me.
Okay, great. I may just put it, I mean, in the shared document on the drive, and just saying, I mean, let's put it like May 2024 webinar. So cool. Thanks.
And maybe just another topic that I believe would be interesting to discuss is direct pooling, lot pooling. Again, I'm new to this group, so I don't know if that's something you guys shared already and talked about already in the past few months. But in the past conferences that I attended in the past few weeks, few months, this is definitely a big topic. And having a mix of vendor and sponsor side and share their experiences was very valuable. I learned a lot personally. I'm not doing it myself. So anticipate your question, Seb, and no, but I would be happy to to watch a webinar on this.
Absolutely.
And I think we talked about that, if I remember correctly, and it was going to be part of the packaging and like the packaging strategy. It's supposed to all encompass that, because that came up some time ago. I know I personally do pool supplies, so I'm really interested to see what other people do, because it's complicated.
Yeah, correct, Kristen. So I guess that's part of the upcoming webinar that Rob will be also be part of. So I guess when we were discussing it during the last sessions, we were just saying that indeed we would start with a more broader topic, and we'll see also how the questions and the discussion is going on, and maybe we just want to have also a follow-up session, maybe in the annual event, maybe because there is a there is a kind of room for a second workshop in the annual event for I mean, coming from our planning work stream, or another kind of more detailed webinar, probably, I mean, in 2024. So yeah, well kept in. Yeah. Any other topic that you want to discuss today, or we just end up a bit earlier today with this kind of smaller audience, I guess?
No, good from me, Sebastian. Thanks very much again for leading it today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. So have a great day, and then let's talk at the latest next month. But in the meantime, we'll be listening to you, Rob, and your webinar on the 15th of November, right?
No problems at all. Yep. Speak to you then, guys.
Perfect. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.